Greetings and welcome to the Dr. J Vlog series. It is Wednesday, June 18th, 2025, and on Wednesdays we talk about emotional health and well-being. And as some of you already know, the theme of the vlogs this week has to do with the sunshine. And the title of today's brief vlog is I'm Gonna Soak Up the Sun, kind of like the Sheryl Crow song. And as you likely already know, sunlight, of course, plays a vital role in terms of regulating our moods, in terms of our sleep-wake cycles, and overall mental health. And exposure to the natural light stimulates the production of serotonin, so-called happy hormone, right? And that, of course, can lift our spirits additionally, improve our overall general sense of well-being. And then additionally, exposure to sunlight helps synchronize our circadian rhythms, promotes better sleep quality in general, and even energy levels throughout the day. In fact, a newly published study from China then looked at the effects of exposure to sunlight in a very unusual way, and they were trying to see what the linkage was between sunlight exposure and subjective well-being. Research has been kind of mixed, believe it or not, in that regard. And so what they did was match the respondents from a nationwide longitudinal survey with precise sunshine duration data that they were able to obtain based on exact times and locations of the interviews and so on. Anyway, the point is that they wanted to see to what extent then a sunlight exposure might be related to the subjective measures of well-being that they were tracking over an 8-year period. Anyway, the research found a positive relationship between sunshine duration on the interview day, for example, and life satisfaction. They also found a small nonlinear relationship between past week sunshine duration and depressive symptoms. So that is, there was a significant effect, but the overall magnitude was relatively small and a little bit inconsistent. So my view in general is that, yeah, the sunshine can have a positive effect, but obviously it doesn't solve the underlying problem, if you will, especially, or whatever the more serious causes might be of depression. There are a number of different issues then that directly affect people's subjective well-being. And so sunlight alone can't, if you will, cure what ails us. It can help, all else equal, does seem to have a small positive effect, at least in terms of lifting our spirits. And I think more generally, basically anything light or fun or beautiful or inspirational or life-affirming, any of these things can tend to elicit positive responses. And so from a scientific perspective, we could say that there are many different pathways to our overall emotional health and well-being. And so my general advice then in that regard is to simply take advantage then of what's available in your particular environments, right? We all live in different towns and we all have access to different social support networks and all kinds of other resources. And so what resources can you access? What are your options? And access to more sunlight then would just be one more tool, if you will, in your toolkit. But regardless of your circumstances, I would definitely recommend getting some access or trying to get some access to sunlight or stimulation in that regard. Because there's also another critical biochemical aspect to consider as well. And many of you already know this, vitamin D. It's often called the sunshine vitamin. And it's essential for various physiological processes and for our overall health. And so, and this is, again, produced in the skin through UVB exposure. It's also obtainable from food and supplements as well. But vitamin D is great. It's incredibly important. It regulates our calcium and phosphorus, supports bone health, and prevents conditions like osteoporosis and rickets. And then beyond the skeletal benefits, evidence links vitamin D deficiency to chronic health issues, such as metabolic syndrome, cancers of various kinds, autoimmune diseases, inflammation, and even mental health disorders. So research then also indicates that vitamin D can lessen the risks of these conditions by modulating our immune function, by reducing inflammation, and promoting cellular growth. So, there are really no negatives, net negatives in this regard. Oh, and vitamin D supplementation also has shown promise to improve moods, again, alleviate depression and anxiety to a degree, but particularly amongst people who are or have been suffering serious deficits of vitamin C. So again, it's just kind of reversing the processes that are essential to our overall health. It also contributes to skin health and has potential benefits in terms of treating psoriasis and preventing skin cancer. And then finally, its anti-inflammatory properties suggest it might lower the risk of chronic diseases like cardiovascular and autoimmune disorders, but we're not 100% certain in that regard. So don't take that with 100% fact, if you will. But it does seem to also, and this is for the women out there, have a positive impact as well on menstrual health, including the regulation of menstrual cycle phases, the alleviation of the dreaded premenstrual syndrome, PMS, the symptoms at least, and then including things like reducing abdominal pains and supporting bone health. So there are a lot of benefits in that regard. Okay, so given its broad effects then in terms of our overall health and maintaining adequate vitamin D levels and so forth, basically, unless you're Gollum from Lord of the Rings, right, all else equal, most of us actually will experience all kinds of direct, again, they might be quite modest, but different physical and some degree of emotional benefits from increased sunlight exposure. And so here are a few tips then to increase your sunlight exposure. First thing you can do is just start your day with a dose of sunshine. Go for a short walk or have your morning coffee or bagel or whatever outside, if you can, right? That's not always possible. But even just a few minutes of exposure to natural light can have a positive impact on your mood and your energy levels. So why not start your day that way, if possible? Second, you can, of course, building upon that logic, you could have the proverbial lunch break stroll or, out in the sun. By the way, my wife and I just did that literally yesterday. We took a full hour lunch together from our jobs. And we don't normally do that. We're not usually scheduled to do that, shall we say. So there's something to the novelty of the situation. But we also, in addition to enjoying company together while we ate, we then went for a nice 20-minute walk as well in the bright sunshine and enjoying the sights and the sounds and the smells of nature and so forth. So yeah, huge positive. And by the way, then we both knocked out the last few hours of our day in good moods, and it flew pretty quickly, I have to say. So yeah, good advice. Try it. It's so simple, right? And then third, with these longer daylight hours especially, right, as the spring goes into the summer's almost here, and then we've got several more months of these longer days, shall we say, then that means we can generally schedule or incorporate these kind of outdoor activities more readily into our daily routines. So why not self-consciously make an effort to do just that? For example, just as soon as you get home from work, that's another great opportunity to go for a walk, or at least just spend a few minutes outside in the sun, or even in the early evening. And literally, basically anything outdoors is really all you need. You don't have to be doing something physically active per se, or going for a walk or a run. But, if you can just get outside and spend a few minutes, it's to your benefit. Again, all else equal. And then if you can change things up, get to a park or go someplace you don't normally go, or do something you don't normally do, even better. All right. And then fourth, open up your curtains and your blinds during the day. Allow the natural light to flood into your home and into your office. And of course, position your workspace near a window too to maximize sunlight exposure throughout the day. Now, again, these are obvious, but sometimes we need to be reminded of the obvious. I know I do. And then fifth, kind of related to what I said a moment ago, make more active plans to do outdoor activities while you have the opportunity, and especially with family or friends if possible. That just gives you added social benefits and emotional benefits as well. You know, picnics and hikes and bikes and basketball or pickleball or whatever. Spending time in nature not only boosts your mood, but also fosters a sense of connection and a sense of relaxation. And of course, we also have to do something we didn't do a lot of when I was growing up. And that is protect ourselves from the sun, too much sun exposure, by wearing adequate sun protection, including for our eyes and our heads. You'll also, again, this is good advice, choose, if you can, choose the morning or late afternoon or early evening for your more direct sun exposure time, shall we say, if possible. And of course, stay hydrated at the same time, regardless of your activities. If you're out for a long run, especially like I did, or a long bike ride, but I was out for I go pretty much for a run almost every day now, and especially typically I'm going for about 90 minutes on average, up to 2 hours. My long has been 3 hours so far, because some of you know I'm preparing for this long-term goal of dribbling a basketball across Canada. So, but I mentioned this because while I love being out in the sun, it's also, again, vital to stay hydrated for these longer exercise routines especially, and to protect yourself against the sun's ultraviolet rays, UV rays, right? And that can damage your skin and your eyes and your immune systems. And by the way, just be sure you don't do a 90-minute run with a dryer sheet stuck to your head. Here's an actual photo of me after my run yesterday. And it was like straight out of a Nickelback song, right? And what the hell is that on Joey's head? So yeah, I looked in the mirror when I came in the front door, right? I was dripping wet. It was a little bit warm. And I was wondering, what the heck do I have stuck on my head? And did I just run around London, the streets of London? Because this is a street run. This wasn't a trail run. So I'm thinking, did I just run around the streets of London for the last hour and a half with a dryer sheet stuck to, as my protective headgear? So anyway, then I figured it out. I don't think that was the case. I think what happened was that you see my shirt on the shoulder there. I think I pulled my shirt off. It was soaking wet. I pulled it off, and I'm guessing there was a dryer sheet stuck in the shirt, again, that I hadn't noticed, and then that came out as I pulled it off over my head. And that's what I saw when I looked in the mirror. I was a bit shocked. But anyway, I hope that's what happened. Otherwise, I had very specialized protective headgear for that run. Okay, that's it for today. May you and yours continue to create peace in your lives, nurture love in your hearts, and dole out hugs in abundance. And I hope to see you tomorrow. Take care.